This man wasted 10 years of his life so you don't have to. You have a future dream that you want to achieve, a life that you want, but the more that time passes by without you taking steps towards it, the more that it can feel that that dream is dying. It's not because it's impossible to achieve, but because you're making the same mistake that kept Sein trapped for 10 years. Sein from Frieren dreamed of a life as an adventurer, but the older he got, the more he started to accept his dull life as a village priest. It wasn't too late for him, but he held on to this one belief that kept him trapped in a life he was unhappy in for 10 years. The top regret of the dying is, I wish I lived a life that was true to myself and didn't live according to what other people thought. Sein eventually woke up from this dream that he couldn't live a life that was true to himself, but most men won't. If you don't want to wake up at 40 and realize that you regret the way that you've lived the past 10, 15, 20 years of your life, you need to understand what finally made Sein change. When Sein's best friend left to become an adventurer and to ask Sein to join him, he stayed back because he was too afraid of taking that first step to leave. 10 years have passed by since then, and now he thinks it's too late for him to chase after his friend. That childhood dream of becoming adventurers that filled them both full of hope feels like a delusion to Sein now. He feels that he missed his chance and he'll always be stuck in the village until he dies. Every day he wakes up and chooses comfort over the life that he once dreamed of living, telling himself that it's okay that he stayed back, that his brother and the village need him. But the more time passes, the more he lies to himself, and the more his regret of never leaving builds. Whether it's traveling the world, asking that girl out, running a marathon, changing your entire life, every man has a dream that is bigger than what he is right now, who he is right now. But why is it that we often let life, past mistakes, and regrets get in our way from living the future life that we want to? There's something that you want to achieve, but just like Sein, because you didn't take steps in the past, you assume that in the future you won't ever be able to take those steps because of your past. And even if you did, you would have failed anyways. So it's too late for you. It's better that you just forget about this dream and just stay comfortable and just accept your life for what it is. But no matter what you do, this dream of yours is just always there. It's just always knocking at the back of your mind, asking you, almost begging you at times to just answer it, to open the door, to let it in, and to let yourself dream big. Whether it was a dream that you had as a child, something that you picked up recently, there's something that you want to do, but you feel that because of the way that things have worked out in your past, that it's not worth chasing. But this is a belief that we all have to learn to break for ourselves, because it is not true. It is never too late, and this is exactly what Sein proves to us, that even if we wasted 10 years of our lives, we can take our first step. Sein was going to be one of these men who died filled with regrets. Someone who never left the home he was born in, never did anything extraordinary, and never chased the dream he wanted. He wasn't in a prison, but his mind was chained to an old belief, one that kept him trapped in a life he was unhappy in. And the longer he stayed, the harder it was to admit that he was wrong. For Sein, this was the belief that he had to stay in the village to be with his older brother. For his whole life, he's weighed down by this belief. It's not until he finally admits it to his brother that his big bro literally slaps him out of it. In Sein's head, his logic makes complete sense. Making himself unhappy every day so he could be with his brother felt like it was his responsibility. But to his bro, he sees this as Sein letting his regrets of the past destroy his future. The choice to change is never easy. It's never certain we'll get what we want, even if we do change. We will have to come face to face with fear, failure, and uncertainty. But even still, if it's in the pursuit of a goal, a dream, a life that you truly want, those risks are worth it. There were no chains that trapped Sein or imprisoned him to his mundane life in the village. It was just a belief, something that is as real as a ghost. It's only when he lets go of the past and starts asking himself what he wants to do right now that he's able to see the path forward so he can live a life without regrets. When he finally takes that first step to leave the village, he makes more progress towards his dream in one day than he did in 10 years. Even though he doesn't know if he can catch up to his friend and make their childhood dream a reality, he realizes that taking that risk wasn't as scary as he thought when he stayed trapped for 10 years. Sein figures this out in his 30s after 10 years of holding himself back. But you have the potential to figure this out for you right now. What is holding you back? What beliefs, what identities, what past mistakes and regrets do you feel are haunting you? That make you feel that if you were to try to take steps in the future, that you wouldn't be able to achieve success or the dream life that you want. When I look at how Sein changed himself, when I look at how I've changed myself, and all the stories of people who felt like they were haunted by their past, but were finally able to break free of it and took steps towards a future life that they wanted, I realized that what is holding us back 99% of the time isn't actual life circumstances. Because if you're watching this video, you're most likely not in prison, and if you are, then, well, I hope you get out one day if you didn't deserve it, and if you did something bad, then, well. But most of us aren't in a place that is keeping us physically and mentally trapped. We're just believing things that are holding us back. And that's because we're living based off of an old story. So just like Sein, he was living based off of this idea that it was too late for him to become an adventurer. He lived it every single day for 10 years, and it wasn't until Frieren came and was finally able to open his eyes that he realized he was able to take steps forward this entire time. And most of us will live a life filled with regrets if we choose to believe an old story that is no longer serving us. It's not taking us to the life that we want. So the real question for you is, if you know that you're living a story that is holding you back, just like Sein, how do you break free of it? And the only way to do it is by honestly taking that first step. For Sein, that was leaving his village. And then after that, he had a bunch of crazy adventures with Frieren and her party. We think we act based off of reason and logic, but really what's controlling us are old stories that we choose to repeat every single day. For Sein, that old story was that he couldn't become an adventurer no matter what he did. There are old beliefs that are controlling you right now, that create the story that you believe yourself to be a part of. For me, one of the biggest beliefs I held onto was that I was a lazy stoner. And this controlled me for years. I smoked weed pretty much every single day for 5 years straight. And I told myself that this was who I was always going to be. But one day I got so tired of it, I decided to make a change. And I went out for a run. I can't say that I remember the first day that I ran, but I do know that after I got tired of this old identity, I started running more and more, and it got to the point where I ran my first marathon. Now I've run 5 marathons, I've run 100 kilometers, and I've completely changed myself from this fat lazy stoner that I thought I was into becoming a runner. But I never would have broken free if I didn't decide to go out for that first run and just say, "F it, it doesn't matter what I think about myself right now, I want to change." We always think that that first step to changing is a lot scarier than it really is. But breaking free of that story that is holding you back right now will let you see that it's not so bad when you try new things, when you decide to chase after your dreams, when you decide to not let regrets of the past hold you back. So I want you to imagine something for me. Imagine that in this very moment, you died. That you literally met God and he decided, or she decided, that it wasn't your time yet. That they were going to let you come back to life a second after you had just died. But you held on to the knowledge that your life completely ended. That you were no longer in this body. That all of your hopes, all of your dreams, all of your regrets, your past mistakes, everything returned to dust, that none of it mattered. And so you come back here in this very moment, and you now have an opportunity to live the life that you've always wanted. Knowing the fact that you just died, and knowing the fact that you will die again in the future, would you still choose to let your past mistakes, fears, regrets, would you still let all of that haunt you? Or would you want to take that first step? We can overthink so many things about our lives, and changing ourselves is probably the biggest thing that most of us delay, because we always assume that we have time, that one day we won't wake up at 40, 50, 60 on our deathbeds and regret all of the actions that we didn't take. There is the potential for you to achieve anything you want, and I mean truly anything, but that only comes after you decide to stop believing your old identities, your old beliefs, and take that first step and live the life that you want. For Sein, that was leaving his village and following Frieren. Because of this, he experienced more of life within a few months of traveling with her party than he did in 10 years of staying completely still. This is the story for all of us. We can take that risk, we can live a life that we're proud of, or we can stay comfortable and let time pass us by without us ever changing a damn thing about ourselves. The truth is that time waits for no one. It's going to move forward no matter what you decide to do. And it all brings us to the same point. When that moment comes for you, for me, do we really want to say we played it safe? That we were incapable of breaking free from ideas in our head, which aren't even real? Or would we want to say, we decided to live. We decided to chase what we wanted in life.